Hello, and welcome to Have At Us Reviews for Your Pleasure. I'm Nietzsche.
And I'm Joshua.
This is episode 8, Life in Pawnee, Park 2. We're going to be covering seasons 5 through 7. This is your spoiler warning. We're probably going to talk about lots of things in this show. Primarily it'll be 5 through 7, but we're going to spoil basically anything and everything. If you want to hear what we said about seasons 1 through 4, it's another episode for that. What do you think about 5 through 7 versus 1 through 4?
I think as an overall product, I think 5 through 7 is the superior half, a little less than half.
You're wrong. It's so wrong. Season 3 makes the first set way better. And then season 7 is nonsense. Shouldn't be there. It's bad.
For me, season 1, not good. Not a good season. Season 2, better, but still got a couple duds in there, I think. Season 3, very good season. Season 4, I don't love season 4. I actually think I'd put it at about the same point as season 2. I don't love season 4. But I think season 5 is really good. I think 6 is really good. And I think 7 has some odd parts to it, specifically all the future-esque elements. Like, it's only 3 years. Why are we saying some of these things? It's a little ridiculous. But outside of that, I think season 7 has some very powerful moments. And I think really does some really nice character closing and has a lot of scenes that I really like. For example, I really like it when Leslie and Ron get locked in the old Parks and Rec area overnight. And I think that's a great episode. I like how it really focuses just on those two. It really shows a deep connection between the two and how well they know each other. And it's funny while also not just going for laughs every moment, but actually having some really good heartwarming moments. You can really see a really strong foundation of friendship between them. I think that's an awesome episode.
I think that's one of the few good points in the season. The whole show really hinges on Leslie and Ron. Like, if you don't like Leslie and Ron's relationship, or you don't like either one of them, you don't like the show, like at all. There's no one else to save you in this show, really, unless you absolutely love someone else. But I just don't know anyone else that you could absolutely love.
Well, especially, like, I know, say, Andy's a really popular character, but he does disappear for a fair chunk of episodes in season 5?
Yeah, it's 5.
Yeah, when he's in England with his English counterpart. So he's gone for a little while. You have, like, the episode with Johnny Karate Show ending. Like, you don't have Tom in that episode. Like, you start to get some episodes with some of these characters disappearing. Anne and Chris, notably, gone midway through 6. And that's a pretty significant change. Did you see that coming?
No, I figured that they might jettison out. I just thought that it would be much later, and we would have more of Anne. And I thought, well, when I leave, we're still going to get some Anne and Leslie, and we got like a couple bits, and then it's just gone. It's like Leslie forgot that Anne, her best friend, existed. And then their reunion at the end was not as, like, heartwarming and nice as I thought it was going to be. It's just kind of like, okay, woo! But the whole last season drops the ball in its entirety, in my opinion. So, except for, I do like the Johnny Karate episode. I thought, wow, this is kind of stupid. It's kind of like that game show episode in Ergo Proxy. Where I was just like, what is going on? Really? But then it ran itself together, and then you pointed out Tom wasn't in there, and I was like, maybe that's what makes this episode better. Because Tom didn't ruin anything. That was pretty good.
I think Johnny Karate, though, is a very funny episode. I especially love the commercials in that. They're hilarious.
The fake commercials that really do feel like I'm watching real commercials.
Yeah, they're really good. The Punch Burger. Oh, man, it's so funny.
The Punch Burger one is real funny.
It's outrageous. But that is a really good episode. I think Tom wouldn't have fit in that episode at all. So I think cutting him's funny. You have John Cena make an appearance out of nowhere.
There's a lot of celebrity kind of like star power in this show that I felt like was kind of surprising.
You get Michelle Obama as a notable, like, oh, okay. Get Joe Biden.
You get Cory Booker, who just ran for president and failed to get on a Democratic ticket, but he's in there. Cory Booker, he was the colored kid with some other senator person that I didn't know who was talking with them about, like, his Across the Aisle band.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that's who that is. Okay. And he was in the Democratic running, which makes him feel like he's more well-known and cool now. But at the time, it's still a big deal because he's a senator, I think. So
You get, what's his name, John McCain?
yeah, John McCain's in there 2 or 3 times.
Twice, I think it is. And so you get some pretty big names from the American government in there, and it's pretty cool for a show that's based around a small government to get these big wigs, like them or not. Like, it's a pretty cool thing to do. It gives the show a sense of, like, reality. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it helps with the buy-in. And being gone ruins a lot of Leslie, and that's sad.
I don't feel that way at all. Honestly, Anne being gone, I think might be for the better.
No, it's not. It's how? How is it for the better?
I just don't think Anne is that funny. My favorite part is all the jokes Leslie will make about Anne's ethnicity.
Those are not jokes, though. Those are definitely, they're meant to be funny to us, right. But they're not jokes.
She's always just using some really weird terminology, and like, that's always really funny to me. In general, I don't think Anne is really that funny of a character, and her being gone just doesn't bother me. I'm pretty like, okay.
I don't think Anne is necessarily super funny, but Anne's interaction with everybody else helps everybody else be better. Except for Tom, because Tom sucks. Tom is more annoying when Anne's on screen.
Somehow. Yeah,
and she doesn't really help Donna, but that's because Donna sucks. So.
You're not a fan of Tom and Donna?
No.
These seasons just made them worse.
Well, in particular, I was kind of like blah about Donna, and then there's the spirit dog scene thing with April and Donna, and that tanked Donna really far.
Didn't like that.
Because she's just such a jerk about it, and I'm like, your whole personality is you thinking you're hot stuff and sleeping around. You want me to feel like you should be offended because she picked a poodle? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are a poodle. I thought they were going to make a racial deal out of it because the poodle was just stark white, and then they didn't, and I was like, oh.
Well, the show doesn't really deal with the racial stuff very often.
I mean, it doesn't. I thought maybe we were going there, and it was going to be kind of funny.
That would have been interesting. I don't really love the spirit dog part. I can't really connect with that kind of thing. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, it was kind of funny. I appreciate the background detail when they've decided that she's a cat, and then her picture has a cat next to it later.
Yeah, that's neat.
So, they do a lot of good stuff with their background details.
The show does do some really good stuff with that.
And it helps the show a lot, because then I'm like, oh, I can pay attention to things, and I feel rewarded when I've paid attention and be like, oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it's a really nice detail that a lot of shows just don't manage. They put a lot of effort into it, and you can really see that. In general, I think Tom, though, he's a funny character to me. I laugh. Generally, I'm laughing at him, not with him, because he's clearly insane.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very different character than the rest of the cast, and that really gives diversity to the personalities in just a completely opposite direction. Although Donna and him do overlap a bit. Although I do think that Donna is more intelligent and makes some better choices in life than Tom does in general. Although Tom does find some success with his restaurant, Tom's Bistro.
Well, yeah, and then he opened up several other locations before it went down, and I was confused about any of and all of that. And that's a whole weird deal. I don't know. I feel like that was just like a caveat to bring Lucy back, and I was like, I knew you were bringing Lucy back. There was no way you weren't bringing Lucy back.
You were wrong, though, about him and Anne figuring it out. That was one of your predictions.
I was pessimistically like, I think they'll figure it out, maybe, but... Right. And they did get worse. Just not in any of the ways I thought they were going to get worse. So, Anne and Chris made sense as a couple. I didn't need that. I don't really know why we had to do that and then have them leave. Chris was great gone. I was like, I didn't miss Chris at all. I was like, oh, yes. Your obnoxious positivity is gone. Whoo, yeah.
I think Chris being gone is worse than Anne being gone, but I don't think him being gone is a big deal, ultimately. He's not the foundation of that show for me. I think he's funny. He has his moments, but in general, him not being there doesn't really feel like a big problem.
I mean, the only real loss is, like, Ben and him have a good relationship. But I don't particularly think Ben is that great. Like, I feel like he's slightly better in 5 through 7. Like, slightly better, though.
I still really like Ben. I think he's a very funny character. You said that you didn't really see him being a nerd, or they didn't depict him as a nerd.
They said, they were like, Ben's just a nerd, like all the time in 1 through 4, and they're kind of just like picking on him for it. But there's no substance to that in those seasons. And then there really isn't any substance for it until season 5. Now I feel like the first moment you really get is him in the car with April trying to drive back to Pawnee, and he's reading the fan script thing for Star Trek or whatever. And I was like, oh man. And that was really funny because April looked like she's about to murder this kid. Cold blood. And I was like, that's fair. Nobody wants to listen to that while you're stuck in the car.
What did you think of the Cones of Dunshire?
The Cones of Dunshire thing, I was like, you're not going to do anything with that. That's just another stupid thing. And then it kept going and doing its thing. And I was like, okay, buddy, you're super nerdy with that. That's fair. So, yeah, I feel like they did better displaying him as someone who actually, like, was into nerdy things in 5 through 7.
The Iron Throne.
Yeah, the Iron Throne thing, I just go, that was so popular.
It was.
And so I just don't really feel like that's nerdy. I feel like that's bandwagon nerd status at that point.
Yeah, very much so.
Right, if it was, like, he was reading the books or something, I could get that a little better.
Well, it doesn't really say whether he did. And I could believe he did because he mentions that he didn't really like Peter Jackson's interpretation of Lord of the Rings when Tom makes fun of him for or Tom says something about like going to New Zealand to do a Lord of the Rings tour.
He's making fun of him.
So from that you can glean that he's a reader. So perhaps he read.
I mean, he's reading books in the show often enough, and
he likes doing arithmetic.
He likes spreadsheet weirdness stuff that I don't fully understand. I like that we got more of Ben in the accounting department, because I like the accounting department people, or firm. They're an accounting firm.
Yeah, the accounting firm.
They're super funny. I kind of wish he had just accepted the job, because that would have been so funny. Because his jokes were so bad, but the fact that they thought it was so funny just made it funny.
Yeah.
Like, it made it funny because they were stupid. And I was just like, okay. And he fit in with those people, and I just thought it was really funny. Barney got him his copyright, and I was like, yeah.
I think that's a really nice little touch. It shows some commitment to this guy, that you really want him to work for you, and you think he's a good person, even though we all know he's not coming to work for you.
I mean, that's true. That's sad. And then he becomes a congressman.
Yep.
Potentially president.
Well, first he becomes city manager after Chris leaves.
Well, yeah, he's city manager. I mean, he was assistant city manager before that.
Yeah.
And then he lost his job, and then he became assistant city manager. And then he has a lot of turmoil in his life.
He does a whole bunch. He works as a charity organizer, or I don't really know what that position title was, for Sweetums.
Good old Sweetums.
Oh, Sweetums is a good company. I can't help but think that there's probably companies just like that.
Just like that is probably extreme, but
sure,
there are companies that exist on the scale of not doing very good things and buying things off.
There's a lot of debate about whether him or Leslie is supposed to be the president at the very end.
He's definitely the president at the end. They lean into his ear, not her ear. That man is definitely closer to Ben's face. And he stops at Ben's ear level. He doesn't go down to Leslie over there.
Yeah.
He's definitely the president.
I think so too.
But I don't know that he has to be the president necessarily. I mean, probably.
It's the implication with the the guards and
the guards are really the only
the
implication.
pin.
The pin, he has an American flag pin on earlier.
He does.
In the show, like, the pin is whatever. It's just kind of a generic pin for you being in government, basically.
Yeah.
It's like your sticker, like you're an elected official.
Now, I could imagine within this show's canon that both he and Leslie get a run in office.
I guess. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me, because I really think that the whole last episode was just a waste of my time. The show ended, realistically, at season 6. We wrapped everything up. It was super nice and neat and clean. Wonderful. It was a good ending. We could have ended that show there. Would have made a world of difference in how I viewed this show. But no, we said we need a whole nother season of not very good.
Now, take away season 7. What do you think of 5 and 6 then?
I didn't think 5 was very good because Andy is gone for so long, and that affects April a lot. April gets less screen time, and her screen time is not as good. Because Andy helps her screen time out and helps her be a better character in that point in the show. Early on when it's her and Andy, it's like, gosh, no, you guys suck. And then they start to get better and figure it out and be funnier together.
So you like them more as a couple later on?
Yeah, later on they do better as a couple. But I still don't understand them as a couple with April. I feel like she was a good character, and then we said we don't know what to do with her, and then they just, like, screwed up everything. Because, like, I can get her and, like, Ron and Leslie being on good terms. But then she's, like, over there being friends with Donna, and I'm like, let's be real. The personality type of April, never getting along with Donna. It's just not happening.
Especially since he likes to, like, really make fun of and play along, or will pretend to play along with some of these more airheaded girl types.
Well, that was hilarious. That was probably the best April moment, because it was so funny. Her and... I don't remember that girl's name. But yeah, when they merge... Oh, that was so funny where she... And for a long time, you're just like, what are you doing? Like, you're doing so well at it. It's really great acting. It's probably the best point of acting in the entire show to me. Because she completely pulls that off so well. Just so well. Like, I believe that if that's the only episode I saw, I believe that April is like a Valley girl. So... But yeah, and then, it's all just to make sure she keeps her job. Because nobody was hiring Airhead Girl anyway, but...
No, but it is very funny.
It's so good.
It says something about, like, going to, like, Florida. Just go to this private estate and just jump the fence. It'll be fine.
Yeah, that's so great how she ends that. And you know that girl had to have tried it.
You got to. Oh, man.
But yeah, that was funny. But the merger thing also brought in people like Craig, and that was the worst. The absolute worst. Craig is annoying from the get-go, never good. I see no relevance, and he feels shoehorned. Like, Tom is bad, but Tom is bad because his personality is written to be bad. It was written not as a character for me to enjoy. Craig is just bad objectively as being stupid and annoying.
He yells so much.
All the time.
Over nothing. Just nothing. Like, he can be saying something positive and he's gonna scream it at you. And I do agree that it's just a little obnoxious. Like, why? If you wanted him to come in for the merger episode, they explore these personalities from the other department, the Parks department from Eagleton, that's fine. He can fit in that episode. But he did not need to reappear. I agree with that. I didn't need him to reappear. The only thing I think I liked about him was I liked the scene in, like, the last episode, I want to say it was, where he's, like, given charge for, like, a minute with Tom. He immediately goes back. It's like, we're taking this off the menu and these guys are fired. I do kind of like that scene.
Well, that's much earlier, because that's before him and Lucy go to Donna's wedding.
Is that before?
Yeah, because the whole scene is him saying to Lucy, like, I want you to come as my date, and I know that's awkward, then I can just sign everything over.
Oh, you're right.
And so then he's in charge, and I won't be here as your boss.
Right. It's not the end. But either way, I do like that scene. Really the only real scene with him that I liked, though.
No, I was done with Tom and Lucy so fast. I was like, gosh dang it, Lucy, go away.
I don't have a problem with Lucy. She's clearly just brought in again at the end.
Just for Tom, and it's just annoying. Like, I get them as a couple at least.
If ever there was a woman that could rein that man in, though, I think she could do it.
I don't know if she really reins him in. She just kind of encourages him into his stupidity.
Sure, but I think if things get too bad, I think she could reel him in and be like, no, stop it. And she could beat him up, kind of thing. She's definitely a more powerful person than Tom is. Physically.
That's because Tom is not powerful.
Yes. Tom is a weakling.
Tom is self-proclaimed as a weakling, and is just annoying. It's just so unbelievably annoying.
Yeah.
And then his ending to everything was worse. It somehow made him worse. And his, like, sad documentary he made. And I was like, how do you get worse? I was truly impressed that I disliked Tom more at the end of the last episode than when we started it.
I think it shows a real consistency of writing with this character, actually. Of how can we progressively just ramp this character up, but make him feel like Tom.
Yeah, I don't think the writing of his character is bad. They write his character well, and his acting is good for the role he's given. But he's not good for me to enjoy. Awful. Just straight awful.
So, of the main characters, he's your least favorite still?
Yeah, Tom sits down at the bottom.
Not a fan.
Donna's not much higher, but she has less screen time and only has the one real scene where I'm like, oh, why do you exist? Her and Joe being together was weird, and I feel like that was a waste of everybody's time.
It does kind of come out of nowhere, and you get a pretty big actor, though.
He's a good actor. I don't remember his name. I just know that...
Keegan-Michael Keel, or it's Keegan-Michael Key, right?
I don't know. It's Key and Peele. That's what the show is that I know him from. And I was like, man, you were so versatile and so good.
And he just shows up in a lot of things sometimes. Completely out of nowhere, not expecting it, and you're like, oh, there he is. He's here. But I don't really have a problem with it. I like him. He's a pretty funny dude.
I think if he was just a random character for the school episode, it would have been fine. Right? I feel like him in the school episode was good. But then him and Donna and, like, the weirdness of that, and I don't know. I never saw it. It never worked out. I was like, whatever, because everybody has to be married, I guess.
They do kind of pair everybody. Everybody is paired off, right?
Yeah, because so Leslie and Ben are together.
Yeah.
Anne and Chris are together.
Yeah.
Tom and Lucy are together. Donna and Joe are together. Andy and April are together, and then Gary and Gail. I wanted to say Millicent, because that's the only other daughter I remembered. And I was like, nope. And then that's everybody, right? I mean, you pair Craig off with Typhoon, which was stupid and annoying and complete nonsense and a waste of everybody's time, yet again.
It does feel like an unnecessary... Like, I don't feel like this character needed an ending. But you got, what's her name? That got
Shauna?
Yeah, Shauna Malwae-Tweet got an ending.
I'm okay with that, because it was short, sweet, and was just like, okay, right?
She hasn't been around a long time in this show.
She's there in like episode 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because she's reporting at the pit, so
she's been around a long time.
I mean, she's been around a while. I feel like her getting a small little ending, and then seemingly, I could see that going well, and I could also see that being just a disaster.
Oh, with,
good old Bobby Newport.
Bobby Newport. Yeah. It's definitely one of those relationships. Oh, we just met 6 hours ago, and we're getting married. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think he says 5.
5 hours.
But yeah. The whole thing where he just, like, walks up, and he's like, oh, are you sad? You know, it makes me feel better. And you're like, please, what are you going to say? What could you possibly say right now? And I was like, he's going to say something with his money or something. And then he's like, gum. Just gum. You what? Okay. Gum. I guess, good thing you have so much money and you can just buy gum. I should probably never to buy it because it came from your company. So
yeah, I don't think he has to worry too much about getting gum. It's pretty funny bringing Paul Rudd back for that.
Yeah, I feel like that was short, sweet, it worked, right? It wasn't just more nonsense. And then the whole deal with Craig and Typhoon, I was like, this makes zero sense as to why Ron is in your wedding. Zero.
So, yeah, the only build-up to that is with Typhoon becoming Ron's new barber.
Yeah, which also makes zero sense. Because Ron is over there in the episode where they get trapped, and he's yelling at the janitor. He's like, I will talk to a man with a ponytail. Like, that's a big deal. So you think that a man who's, like, against men with ponytails is gonna, like, let a clearly homosexual man do his hair?
Well, I don't think Ron has a problem with homosexuals. In fact, I think he doesn't have a problem with them.
I mean, it's fine, but I need you to write consistently, right? I need you to be consistent with things. There's several examples that I was like, oh, that makes zero sense because you said this line earlier. Yeah. And that's fine. You can't always be perfect.
It's not perfect.
You could suck sometimes.
In a show that's over 100 episodes long, and a comedy, it's going to be real hard to really nail everybody. And I think everybody has a moment or two that's a little inconsistent.
Well, nobody's consistent from season 1, so...
That's true. I'm
except
ignoring
maybe
season
Mark.
1.
But Mark doesn't matter, because Mark's been gone for so long.
Mark, after season 2, has literally never seen it.
Yeah, I thought that was still a little weird. I was just like, nobody says anything?
It would have been really funny if they had just brought him back for the last episode. But not, like, make a big deal out of it, but just throw him in there somewhere so you could see it and just find it. I think that'd be really funny.
He's just, like, walking along as they're doing something, and there's Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been funny. It would have been nice. I didn't really see, like, why he's just, boom, gone, and then no mention. Like, I'm fine if he never comes back, because he doesn't want to be on the show, or whatever happened there, I don't know. But, like, could have given something. It just seems really weird that this guy who was a part of your cool friend group is now just, like, Never mentioned again.
Yeah.
You are shunned.
Yes.
Gone.
Anne at least does get mentioned a couple times.
She gets mentioned. She comes back.
Yeah.
She clearly is, Leslie's best friend.
See, Leslie has that scene where she's trying to judge for a new friend.
I thought that was funny.
The correct answer is...
I thought there were no...
Moving on.
I guess it's shun them all tweet by default. That's how you like to decide things, right? By default. This is a good scene. And then she talks to Anne about it. No, it was a good deal. Her and Anne's friendship made a lot of sense to me, and I really liked it after the first, couple seasons.
Right.
I really felt like it came together and worked. They're just, the most friendly buddies in, a week after they met, and I'm like, okay.
I mean, they become very fast friends.
After it's been some time, I can kind of forgive all these things and move on and be okay with how it went. It made the last a little bit worse, because there was no Anne. Nothing good happening.
Fair enough.
There was just nonsense. Also, I don't know why anybody had kids in this show when here's kids. This is a fact. Just remember it, because you're never going to really see these kids. It doesn't matter. Ron has his kid for a little bit, and that's fine, and I appreciate that, he didn't tell anybody he had his kid, and he's just sitting in his office. I feel like that was very fitting and a really well done thing. And then they're just after he finishes the floor, or finishes reworking, the third floor, I was just oh, yeah, Ron has a kid. But you never see, Diane or the girls again. And I just thought that was a really weird deal that they just were, there and clearly important to his life and never mentioned. After a while, they're just thrown to the wind. And then, the kids for Ben and Leslie, I was like, oh, wow, you're so cool. You have kids.
Triplets.
Yeah, triplets. And then you see them, 4 times.
I was more bothered by the triplets not showing up more than I was with Ron's kids. At least with Ron, you can make the argument that he's a super personal person and just wouldn't discuss these things. That's fine. Well, I feel like you would see more scenes with, Leslie being, a caring mother or a crazy mother or something along those lines. And same with Ben. But you don't really see that too often. And I think it's partly just because child actors they're not the greatest thing. And I don't think kids are generally kept in sitcom shows very often because they're just hard to work with. And so I don't really have a big problem with it. It does seem a little weird sometimes, though.
Which is why you'd ended at season 6 and it's been oh, there's the kids. Boom. Wrapped up. Done. See how that works?
If there hadn't been no season 7, I agree that season 6 would have ended pretty well. I do think the final episode, though, is a better final episode.
How? How is it better?
I like how it wraps up people's personal storylines, and I think
I didn't need any of that wrap up.
I like it.
I just didn't need it. The only thing that was kind of nice is that we finally stopped being a complete jerk to Gary. Now, we ramped it up, I feel like. I feel like season 5, it was pretty okay. Mm-hmm. We weren't complete jerks about it. And then it was well, it's been a while. Bam! Ramping this up. Crazy.
Yeah, I feel like they got rid of Anne and Chris, and then they especially were, running out, and they were we need to throw in some more of these Gary jokes, or Terry jokes, at that point in time.
I don't remember. His name changes 4 or 5 times.
Oh.
I've decided his name is Gary at all times.
Gary Gergich. He becomes the mayor?
He becomes the mayor.
For a long time?
For a really long time. I like that his kids and his wife just don't look any older. They just look so good. And he just looks like the old man in the retirement home who just, is the grumpiest, angriest man because he's been alive too long. That's just what he looks like. He's clearly not that person, but he looks exactly like that person.
It is really funny. You see him at his 100th birthday, and his wife is just looking like she's 30, 40. It's okay. That's very funny. Just keep that a mystery forever.
I mean, I don't really feel like that needed to be a mystery at any point. I just feel like we could have just been oh, Gary has an attractive wife. Moving on.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we needed to make jokes about it all the time, but they did, and I was just okay, whatever.
I do also like the scene with Ben going on a bunch of date spots with him.
That was weird. I was okay.
After that, Ben does stand up for him every now and then.
That helps Ben a lot. That brings Ben up a lot. It really does, because I was yeah, Ben's standing up for him, doing good things, making him the mayor.
Yeah, I always liked that about Ben. I felt like after that, maybe he makes a joke about him after that, but not often if he does. And he does stick up for him a couple times, makes him the mayor. I think that's a pretty cool touch.
Yeah, it helps Ben be a much better character.
It's one of the reasons I do like Ben, actually.
You would.
But basically everyone else, I feel like, just gets worse with him. It's still the biggest inconsistency to me for the show is with Leslie. Of just like, she's such a good person all the time. Even to some really awful people, she can be pretty nice. Like Jam or Dexter or whoever. But Gary, she just can't. It's like he was a curse upon these people and they just can't get rid of him. And I just don't understand. Because she's a good person and then here comes Gary and then she's just awful about it. And I get that that's just the writing being like, this guy's just the butt of a joke. But I hate it. It's bad.
I don't feel like she's like an incredible jerk most of the time. Sometimes she is, but most of the time I feel like she just kind of slides it in there and moves on, right? And her and Dexart are not very nice to each other ever. Let's be real. Her and Jim, though, become weird friends, kind of. The picture at the end was really weird. I was like, I don't know what that is. I feel really awkward about looking at, I don't know.
So how much did you hate Jeremy Jam?
I didn't really hate him.
Okay.
Like, I understood his purpose and was like, whatever. I kind of wanted him to just stay with Tammy and never bring Tammy and him back again. I just didn't need them again because Tammy's awful. Tammy's just annoying. Like, those scenes just feel like a waste of my time. Like, if we had one of them and I understood Ron's ex-wife Tammy, great, we're done. But then there's like 6 or 7 of them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please stop.
I generally think she's pretty funny. But she's also just like a sex demon in this show. Especially in that last couple of times. The things she says, you're just like, woman, you are really craving sex all the time. This
just from Ron, though.
Just from Ron. She's something else.
Because Ron's got a magical penis.
Apparently. Ron is very, very good. I agree that if she had been one episode, I think that would have been the superior move. I don't actually have a huge problem with him. I think Jeremy Jam is a pretty funny character. I think he makes a good foil for Leslie on the council. I think it works very well. Because it's really her and him that have the feuds. And I think he works in that role very well. I love it when they go to his house and he's just like photoshopped this woman. And he's just got all this Japanese stuff like a hibachi. Just doing all these things. And he's using it to cook eggs.
I mean, it's not a wrong way to cook eggs, but I could do the exact same thing on a flat top.
It's just so funny.
Like, I just don't know why you needed, like, a weird, cool Japanese-style flat top.
It's very weird, but I think it's a very funny thing. I love it when they go to the miniature golf course, and they're just competing over this phone. And Jam's just like, yeah, let's keep this going. It's great.
Yeah, he's very honest about his problems.
Oh, yeah.
And so it doesn't really bother me that he has these problems. He's just kind of there, doing his thing. Yeah, I think he works for being around Leslie and making that work, but
okay,
not really anything else.
Well, I mean, that's basically his tool. I think that's how they use him.
I don't really know why he needed his own little ending thing either. In the last episode, I was like, who cares?
Oh, that's really short.
That's super short, but I was still like, okay, yeah. I don't care.
Yeah, he's working at a hibachi in Florida. I am confused as to how this city keeps these people in their positions.
Voted by the people.
Oh, man. It is funny. Did you expect Leslie to get recalled? Like, the plotline comes out, she's going to get recalled. Did you expect her to actually get recalled, or did you think it was just going to be a classic, oh, look, here's some drama, but it's going to be fine situation?
I was like, I don't know. I could see you going both ways.
Okay.
I didn't care either way, really. But then I felt what was really weird is that her replacement, other blonde girl from Eagleton.
Yeah, her old friend.
That wasn't her old friend. Her old friend's a brunette.
She calls her old friend.
Does she?
Yeah.
When?
It's one of the last appearances right before well, I think it's after she's officially recalled. And she's got like the 30 days left or whatever. And then she's talking to her. She does say it.
Oh, I don't know. I just thought we were talking about her actual friend from way back who helped her run the Parks Department, who never appeared in the merger, which was really weird. But whatever, other blonde councilwoman is just magically not relevant after she becomes councilwoman.
It is weird.
Especially because in the last scene where Gary's getting sworn in, and they go through like 3 or 4 of those, the one that would be the most recent, there's just someone standing there blocking her seat. So you don't even know if she's there or not. Like, it's just so ridiculously weird. And I'm like, maybe it was too much to keep her on or whatever.
I have
don't know.
to imagine it had to do with just scheduling conflict or something along those lines with the actress.
But I don't know. She does get recalled, and I was like, okay, well.
Not necessarily for good reasons.
Yeah, but she stuck to her guns.
She does.
I appreciate that about Leslie.
Yeah.
I basically like Leslie for the reasons that Ron likes Leslie.
Yeah, I mean...
She sticks to it, and she's very passionate about it, and that's good. We can move on. You can be wrong.
I mean, she does some pretty silly things, and I don't think I would agree with her on much in life. I don't know that I'd get along with her very well in person, actually. She could be easy to work with, actually, but she could also just be miserable.
It depends on your personality, right? I think if you have a strong personality, you can work with Leslie. No problem. Because you can just, boom. No, we're not doing this, Leslie. Move on. But if you're someone who can easily be pushed around, or you don't want to cause conflict, Leslie's going to be real hard to work with. Real hard.
It'd be tough.
Because anything you do against her is conflict.
I love it when April mentions to her, I think we were talking about changing the font. And she's like, what? No, what? Why? Just immediately like, no.
Well, that scene was really good because Ben's like, it's not that bad. And he's just clearly in denial, right? He lives with this woman. He's married to this woman. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
And April's like, oh, okay. Let me pick the most minute thing. Oh yeah, font. You remember how you were really against the font thing, buddy? Remember that? And I agree with Ben. Font matters. Don't pick stupid fonts. And size matters. I agree. All with Ben right there. And then, yeah, she's like, what? No, it's perfectly proportioned and on the paper and it holds exactly where it needs. And I'm like, okay. I mean, you're probably right. I can't look at it, but you're probably right.
She's also, she's very willing to stick to her ideas and fight for her ideas. And if you oppose her, she will fight you for it.
Yeah, but she's generally a pretty nice person in the end, right?
Yeah, she's a good person.
She'll help you out in the end. And she sacrifices what she wants for other people often.
She does a lot for them. And as you said the last episode, like, you can really... She's a good leader. And I think that always shines through. Especially with those that's close to her. Like, you can really see that they trust her to do well by them. And they do a lot for her in return. And I think that's a great aspect of the show. Like, this show is compared to, surprise, surprise, The Office a lot, right? For numerous reasons. But I think when the lead of that show goes away, towards the end of its run, like, people talk about how he's such a good leader. And I'm like, do you actually mean what you're saying right now? Most of you tend to really not get along with this guy. But in this show, like, if she went away, like, these people would feel that. And, like, I like her relationship with everybody.
Well, Ron tries to, go do basically everything against what he wants to go work with them again, right?
Yeah. She's awesome, yeah.
She holds it together, which is the important part.
Yeah, I think they really did a good job with her as the lead. Like, it was a really good choice for a lead. Like, you could have had, like, a Ron for a leader. Or, like, a protagonist, I should say. But as much as I love Ron, I don't think he would make as good a protagonist as Leslie does. And unless you were really aiming into the whole, like, bring the government down from the inside angle, then Ron would be great. Leslie, I think, makes a great protagonist. She's written well, and she's played very well. She's a very believable character, even at her most ridiculous. Like, I always feel like I understand her, though.
I don't know that I always felt like I understood where she was at and why she was being kind of ridiculous. But, I mean, I at least get her passion for things, and that's what drives her to do things.
Workaholic.
I mean, she does work a lot. A dang lot.
I love it. There's a line where she's talking about how, like, reach a certain point where she's old and she'll have, like, an extra day off or whatever. And she's like, oh my God, I'm already so bored thinking about that extra day off.
Yeah, that was a good line where she's like, I'm be in government until I'm like 100. And you're like, what? And then I'll just drop down to like 4 days a week doing, whatever. And then I guess I'm already bored thinking about this extra day off. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm a workaholic, but I'm not that bad. Just not that bad.
Yeah.
Like,
she's in it.
If I get to 100, I'm just not working.
Yeah, right. Think I'm going to pass on that one.
Especially not in local government. But maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need to pursue a job in local government.
I wonder if anybody has applied after... I'm sure somebody's had to have applied for a Parks job after watching this show.
I don't know.
Somebody has done it. I guarantee it. There's crazy people. I don't know how the park's part of any small government really operates.
Well, right now, our parks department is not cleaning up the trees that have been down for like 3 weeks. They have cleaned up things from the side of the road from the most recent nonsense with the snow, but
not the down trees, huh?
Not the trees in the park over there.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, that's not shocking, but who knows?
They suck.
Yeah, we should go and write them a letter.
And we should just go in there and make them watch Parks and Rec, and they will understand how to be a good leader. Yeah. They will all become Leslie Knope. Every single person in the Parks Department. I'm excited for this.
2 characters, though, that I don't love are the animal trapper guys.
Oh, they're rarely there. They're also very typecast of, like, this is why we think high people act. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they're, like, these people are stupid. Just beyond stupid. And, man, whenever they do appear, though, I'm like, why? These guys are not funny to me.
And Chris is like, you gotta, give them a little bit. We've only been here 5 minutes, right? Maybe there's a method to their madness. There's more than one way to skin a cat. And he's like, 4. There's 4 ways to skin a cat. And he just does this stupid, weird thing. And then Chris takes like 2 steps and steps on the cougar trap or whatever. And he's like, you're fired. You're both just fired. Everybody in the department, fired.
Fair enough.
That was probably the best scene where they were in it. But that's it. Like,
yeah, and then they just show up at like the job interview, and then they're living in like the government basement. It's like, why? I don't really like those characters.
I mean, them being in the basement was whatever. Got you more Milton. Good old Milton.
Councilman Milton. Yeah, he's an old man kicking it.
I mean,
he dyed his hair.
I've met old men who are pretty close to that.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
He's a racist and a womanizer. Or
he tries.
He tries.
He's too old at this point.
Yeah.
He probably can't get it up anymore.
All the old people at the retirement.
That's pretty normal.
Yeah, it is. It's super normal. You hear that all the time about people who work at that places, and it's like, well, that's disturbing. That is how it works, I guess.
I think that's everybody.
Are there any characters outside of Donna and Tom that just got worse for you?
I mean, April gets a little worse. Basically just at the end, though. Where they've just kind of destroyed her character. I'm like, okay, great. I don't care anymore. You're not as good as you could have been. You could have been a great character. You still could have been with Andy. Life could have been fine. But nope. Andy being gone for so long really kind of screwed a lot of things. I was really hoping that we were going to get scenes with him and whatever British counterpart was. He kept saying, like, there's a point in the show where he goes away. And that was not the point that I thought. I thought we were going to get some good scenes because I thought they were really funny together. And then nothing. That was the point. And I was like, oh, okay.
It's a weird one. I think their interactions were pretty funny. He's just an Andy. He's just an Andy.
With more money.
With more money and power. Oh man, the Johnny Karate episode though, where he comes back and knights them. I love that. That's so funny. But I have so much money, the queen just lets me do what I want. And then he knights him, and Ben's all like, he's so excited about it.
Yeah, I just thought it was so funny. That was a helpful point for me to be like, you're a nerdy person, buddy. You won't be knighted and have your little role play thing going on. And
oh my god.
Oh, you're weird, buddy.
He's just like checking himself afterwards. I gotta change.
Yeah, his
so
whole...
awesome.
The people in the background did good. A lot of their scene direction and placement was really good.
Mm-hmm. It is really good. That's one of the things I really actually like to look at in this show, is just what people are looking like in the background when they're not talking, or if they're just reacting to something. It's oftentimes really good. Like, they're still in character. I think Ron's faces are always really good with that. Ben's pretty good about that.
Yeah, April has good faces. She's a really wide range of, like, acting with her faces and stuff. She conveys a lot with her face, I feel like, all the time. And it's really good. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I do think the acting in the show is well done, on any of the main characters' parts, at least.
I mean, the acting is good. Oh, Jean-Ralphio and Mona Lisa, though.
Oh, Jean-Ralphio.
Yeah, I feel like we gotta talk about them.
Mona Lisa,
they are off. Oh, so bad.
So I like Jean-Ralphio. Like, I don't like him as a person, honestly, but...
Whatever, you wish you could be Jean-Ralphio.
Yeah, but I think he is hilarious. Mona Lisa, she's just the worst. Oh my god. Her, like, whiny voice when she's asking for money.
Money.
Oh, it's so bad. Oh my god, and you just want to, like, throw her off a cliff. She's awful.
She's just a bad person. John Ralphio at least seems like, he's got Tom to bounce off of and, like, be a good person towards Tom. But Mona Lisa is just a jerk. She's a terrible person.
Yeah,
the only scene that was good with her was her not being on screen when Chris and Anne are getting the sonogram. And Dr. Saperstein's over there, and he's yelling at Tom, and he's like, I'm doing this because you took my daughter's virginity. And you're like, do you believe you just said that? Do you believe any word that just came out of your mouth?
Well, they all just start laughing at him.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, you're serious.
This woman is down the play all the time.
And everybody.
Anybody, her brother, she implies is pretty old. I'm like, oh, man, I'm going there, huh? Yeah, she's something.
Yeah.
Oh, Mona Lisa is the worst.
She is a really bad character. I don't understand why they needed their own little ending thing. I also do feel like if Jean-Ralphio had a funeral, though, that'd be his funeral. He's playing nonsense in the background.
It's very funny. I love that. I think that's a very funny touch. I also just think John Ralphio getting an ending, like, if Shaun of Malwae can get an ending, John Ralphio can get an ending. He's been around a long time. He reoccurs. He's a part of the greater cast in his own way. Mona Lisa. Oh.
No, she's just there to be there and be obnoxious and awful.
Oh, man. Because he comes in when Tom opens up his rental clothing store.
Yeah, Rent-A-Swag.
Rent-A-Swag. I thought John Ralphio was something, but you're the worst twin. Oh, man. How did we manage that?
Yeah, I don't know how that was bad. It was just so bad. I hated her the whole time. Not good.
I think a lot of the larger cast, though, that aren't the main core, they show up throughout the show, and they all get kind of their own, I wouldn't say they all get like an ending, but the talk show host,
Joan. Oh, I liked Joan.
Oh, she just deteriorates.
Yeah, I agreed with April, though. Like, when April's like, she's just a train wreck now, and it's great, and I love it, and I'm like, I do. I really think that's so funny. When April's reading her book... all of it was... I don't remember any of it at all.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is so funny. And she's like, and that's the ending. And you're like, what? What did you just read to me? I'm so lost.
Oh, man. Joan Calameza. I think hers is probably my favorite of the expanded cast subject because I love her deterioration. Just like a woman, they're at rehab and she starts filming.
It's supposed to be anonymous. You'd get in so much trouble for that in a real rehab.
Oh my God, yeah. But it's
that rehab would just be shut down for violating every rule in the world.
Sure, but it's very funny still. Just like, oh man. But you get like Purd, who's around, and he's just the same character. I don't feel like he ever changed.
He didn't change, and that was kind of the point.
Yeah, he's just Purd.
I guess you have Brandy Max, who appears.
Oh, Brandy Max.
And Brandy Max.
She becomes a councilwoman, right?
Oh, yeah, she does. Yeah, that's some weird stuff.
Oh, no.
Brandy, I think that, like, if she was there once, it would have been fine. But then she's there all the time, just saying the cringiest things about her and Leslie.
I don't know. I think it's funny whenever she starts saying Leslie, and Leslie's just like, oh my gosh, please don't include me with this. But Brandy doesn't show up that often.
Yeah, she's there like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, she's not too often.
Maybe more appearance than those kids.
And then you get things like Councilman Dexar with his sex scandals.
His stuff when he's in the background of scenes, though, is always good. Because he's always standing with like 2 or 3 women, and you can just tell. He is really trying hard, right? And sometimes his hand is like on some woman's rear or something. Yeah, if he's in the background, it's funny.
Yeah.
But he is a terrible person.
Oh my God. He's awful. I do think it's funny though when they're at the birthday party and there's just like, oh, they're all my kids. I just throw a birthday for all of them. And there's just like all these people there and you're like, oh my God.
The angry women in the background.
It's very funny. Oh,
there's like 10 names on that cake too or something.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Oh yeah, the cake has all their names like written on it.
Oh really? I didn't notice that. That's funny.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, small details. Very good.
The background details are really good. They've made the show more enjoyable to watch.
Is there characters that you thought were better at the end that you're like? Well, outside of Ben, you said Ben was slightly better, a little bit. Anybody else?
Not really. I felt basically the same about Ron and Leslie.
Okay.
April went down a little bit. Donna went down a lot. Tom stayed the same, which is the bottom. It's hard to climb up when you're that far down.
Imagine if he had, though. That would have been something.
I don't know how you would do that. There's just no saving him.
Yeah, I mean...
He is... Mm-hmm. He didn't get any children because they knew that would be a bad idea.
Oh, God, Tom's children. Could you imagine?
Tom and Lucy having
Their
children.
children would be...
Monsters.
Although that does remind me, I do like the scene with Andy after April gives birth to their son. And he's like, okay, doctor. We see what time it is, right? I'm going to need you to back that up a few minutes. He's like, I can't do that. He's like, yeah. But he gets the doctor to do it, to make sure the kid's born on Halloween. It's very funny.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a really touching, nice moment. The only scene where I thought he was funny after that, I think, was at the very end when April was like, another kid, right? Or she's like, kind of keep it quiet, like, don't go tell everybody. And he's like, oh yeah, because it's sleepy. How did you know? She's like, how are you so stupid? I feel like secretly April just keeps him because she really enjoys how stupid he is, so she can judge him. And feel satisfied with being able to judge someone for being a complete moron.
I mean, I believe it.
Because he is so stupid.
Oh, he's stupid. And my running theory, because he does seem to just get stupider with time, is that all the stupid things he's doing just makes him more stupid.
Yeah. Like, he really does get really stupid towards the end.
He gets pretty dumb.
Like, I really appreciate that in season 5, he kind of helps broker the deal with the English kid, and, it all works out. And he runs away, go be the guardian of the galaxy kid or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, he's just back, and he's just a bumbling moron. They buy that house together, and then I don't know if they sold that house, how that worked. I don't know anything about that. I assume they had to buy it on a loan, and then they just moved to Washington.
DC. I agree that that's one of the things weird to me, and I noticed that the first time I watched the last season was that they bought a new house at the beginning of the season, and then they move at the end of the season. This is not a long season. It's only 12 episodes long. I always thought that was very weird. Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they bought a new house. They just moved.
Wait, it shows Leslie and Ben going to their house in Washington for the Halloween, right?
What Halloween party?
Because they're dressed up.
Which house? The one in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah. I think they go to their house.
No, I thought that was...
Or it's like a duplex or something.
I thought that was Andy and April going to their house.
Maybe.
I was pretty sure. Yeah, no, because Andy is like, oh, where are the kids at? Oh, we, had them out with their friends.
Oh, I thought that was them saying that they didn't bring him over. Either way, you might be right. But they do show them handing out candy.
Yeah, and then they leave.
I might be wrong.
Irrelevant. They were in a house, and we don't know if they rented it.
Yeah, we don't know.
They're renting to own, if they own a house, if the bank owns the house and lets them live there as they pay mortgage. I don't know what they're doing.
Who knows?
I don't know how much, really anything worked at all. Now, I get that it's a sitcom, but that was just a large oversight for no reason.
Yeah, no, that's actually one of the ones I've always noticed and thought was really stupid. I personally think that in general, I feel like there's a maturity to their characters. Maybe maturity is a bad word for it. They're more or less the same maturity level.
They progress.
But I feel like, there's a development to their characters that I feel like really shined through in the last few seasons. And that's something I really like, is I feel like these are actually characters who grew up a little bit. Like, there's a passage of time.
I mean, they develop, but I didn't need all of them to develop in the end. And I feel like, I just feel like April's development just went in a weird direction.
I think it makes sense for the tone of the show. I don't know that it's realistic to her character.
Yeah, her personality, it just didn't fit her personality. And I really liked her personality. I connect with that personality. I'm just not quite as callous and a jerk as April. Sometimes I think I could be. And then I'm like,
She says some things. I don't connect with April very well. I think she's funny.
Oh, no, I connect with her pretty well. Just her best scene in, season 5 is when she goes and threatens that kid. She's like, is the website done? No. Get the website done. Oh, I know where you live, blah, blah. I will come melon ball your eyeballs out, and then your congressman father's gonna have to take care of you or whatever. And she pulls that off so well. Because she clearly is just like, you mean business.
Sounds like a real threat.
I feel like I'm about to lose my eyeballs if this website isn't done by the end of the day, so yeah.
Now, the character I connect with most is Ben.
Mm-hmm. I expect to walk in and see cones of Dunshire on the kitchen table.
I mean, the idea of designing your own board game, though, is pretty appealing. Like, Like, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I gather it would be for you.
So, I feel like there's a lot of Ben that I connect with. Not 100%. The spreadsheet thing in an accounting firm, good God. No.
Your math skills wouldn't work.
Oh, no. I mean, I couldn't qualify for that nonsense. My math skills are abysmal. But just as a general interest, that's a hard pass. But other than that, Ben is definitely the character I see myself in the most. So, maybe that's partly why I like him so much.
I mean, that's fair. No, I mean, the best characters are Leslie and Ron.
Definitely.
There's just no getting around it.
They're both written very well. I think Ron is still my favorite, though. He's just so funny. He just has so many good lines. He's always a great presence.
I mean, he's funny. I don't really feel like the ending where he's just kind of being a jerk for no good reason for the longest time. And I connect with Leslie being offended at him. I just assume he did something wrong. But then he does the nice thing with Anne's house. I very much like that when he's giving it to her, he's like, I knew that when that meant we were bulldozering the nurse's house. Very specifically, he's got to make sure he doesn't think anything of Anne. She's the nurse. That's it.
Very funny.
Right. It's a good detail.
It is. But it's things like the fact that he kept that door, or the parts of the door that make a frame out of it. And he says something along the lines of, like, I kept this in case we ever reconnected.
Yeah, in case I ever really screwed up or something and I needed to give you a sentimental gift or something, yeah.
I'm like, this guy, he's a smart guy. He's down to earth. I really like his ending, actually, with him getting, like, the park ranger job.
I just thought that was really weird because it's so... I thought we were going to get more with that, but we just get like, oh, look, basically still present time. You're park ranger. Done. It didn't go anywhere. I thought maybe we get a flash to Diane and his kids or his son or anything, but just him being park ranger, and that's fine.
I agree. You could have done more, but I like what we get. I like that it's the same song that plays for him before plays again, Buddy, something.
Yeah, it's his song. He put it on the mixtape.
Yeah. And I think, that's a cool touch. It plays for him, and he's going across the water in the canoe. I really like it. It's also just very Leslie to be able to come up with something like that. That's so clearly a job that he could do and would just be like the perfect person for it.
I mean, she knows her people pretty well. Failed with April. Here's your 5-year plan in government.
And she's like, nope, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Now, she does turn around and help her out.
Yeah.
And gets her where she needed to go. So.
But no, their relationship, Leslie and Ron's relationship is also just maybe my favorite in the show. It's just so good because you can really see that they respect one another. Like, they think highly of one another. It's not a one-way street. They both think of each other as smart and capable and good people. And I really like their relationship. I think it's really good. And they're both, like, great characters. And it just works so well all the time to me. And the whole Morningstar thing doesn't go on for too long.
It goes on for like half the season, though, right? It's in relation to the season. It's like episode 4 or 5 when they resolve that.
Either way, like I think it creates, that disturbance between the two. And when I first saw it, I was interested in what the heck this actually is. I felt like it made some sense. I think the way Ron tells it, though, is just partly he's just acted really well. I was talking about how he's going to go up and ask for a government, like a federal government job under her, and then she goes away. And I just thought, man, this is a really touching scene and kind of sad. And the reconnection, like the payoff, I guess, is just so good to me. That's one of the highlights of the show to me, though, is that episode, actually. I really love that episode.
I think it's one of the only good points in the season, but, like, I did not think that was touching or emotional in any fashion. I was like, oh.
No, I did.
Okay, I mean, you would. You're in tune with your emotions, so I am not. Maybe we'll find something that makes me cry. I expect people to recommend something that will make me cry.
Something that will make you cry.
Yep.
I look forward to that.
It's gonna be good. I mean, it's a good episode. I think the amount of nonsense things that are still in that office somehow. Okay. Also, the fact that those doors have been replaced with glass doors, and you're like, you can't just break through a glass door.
I mean, he was willing to punch out the window, right? So.
With the wire in it, though. Not the glass door that he could clearly get out of.
Yeah.
Walk through, and then all those doors are going to be easy to get out of. I don't know. The mine thing was funny. Where he, like, tries to blow up the door. And then he's just so disappointed. And it's better because he gave that to that little girl.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh. I cannot. That's so funny.
I think it's really cool how they bring that back, actually. And he brings it out, and then it's just confetti. And then Leslie's voice saying something stupid. And she just laughs at it or whatever. She's like, yes! Like it's finally paid off. It's awesome.
When she tries to stop him beforehand, he's like, nope. Blah, 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 boom. And he's just so disappointed that he didn't blow it up.
Like, you mean to tell me this was? Or like, for all these years, I've just had a toy on my desk?
Yeah, because he thought it was a partially diffused landmine or whatever.
And she's like, well, it was. Kind of. Oh, man. Yeah, it's just a really funny touch. Oh, man. Because that thing is there for so much of the show.
It's always on his desk.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah. Until he gives it to the little girl and then it comes back.
And he's got like the poster. Or
the Mulligans poster.
Well, he's got the Mulligans and then he's got just the breakfast one.
Oh, yeah, just the bacon, eggs, and like, looks like a biscuit.
It's like, he does like breakfast food. He is a fan.
Breakfast food is good, only at breakfast time, though. We all have to understand. Breakfast food it's in the name. It's breakfast time.
Yeah, Leslie with her waffles. She loves waffles.
Yeah, we also don't really know what happened to JJ's, because we kind of have the convoluted plot about saving it, but then that plan really changes a lot, with Gristle doing their thing, and then they buy that whole section out.
I just assume it worked out.
But the whole point was JJ's was going to move over there, because Dennis Feinstein was the problem with JJ's, and then we just kind of forget about all that.
I assume it works out, so... I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but...
I don't know. She moved on anyway. JJ just doesn't need to be there because she's not there anymore.
I think it would have been funny, though, if she had, like, tried to convince JJ to open up in DC or something. Because I could see her doing that. It's like, she makes, like, a moving plan for him or something. That'd be
it could have been funny.
That would have been a cool scene.
Could have been good. Didn't happen, though.
No.
The Gristle people were weird, though. I was also like, I don't care about you guys. You guys are just a plot device.
They're definitely a plot device. Although, I do like how Kunta Dunshire comes back. This game just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like, what?
I respected that Ben gave them a chance. He's like, we can draw right here. And they're like, for real. I have all your resource crystals. Like, what do you want? I'm so cool. And he's just so cocky. And then Ben's like, rolls the dice, and he just looks at him with such confidence. He's like, boom, I do this. And then my lowly farmer, moves there and touches the center cone. And then Andy's like, we own everything! That was a funny moment with Andy, though.
That was really good.
Like, I own this and this, and he's just taking people's stuff, and you're just like, what are you doing?
That's a believable Andy moment of like, yeah, I can see how you could interpret this. Like, you've lost track of what's happening.
It's a long game.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, man. I also just love that Ben's look. It's just like, he's just examining all of that. And he just looks at him like, I got this. Yeah, the handshake is really funny.
Try and be a good person here. I mean, I feel like you should have totally crushed him from the get-go. But I feel like that would be unfitting for his character a little bit.
Yeah.
Leslie would be in there, and she'd be like, boom!
Yeah.
Flip the table.
Yeah, she would definitely. Ben's a little bit more reserved, though.
He also apparently hates having conflict, but only for the scene where he's, being held by Andy. And then he magically has zero problems with conflict ever again.
True.
Except for with cops. That was also a jacked up prank with them, though.
Man.
Where he brings the cheese back, and the cops go.
Oh, yeah.
He's so terrified.
You could just see it. His acting is really good there, where he's just like, he really is just terrified out of his mind. And then they bring up, like, the jaywalking, and he's like, well, everybody does something. I added it to the list. He's like, just freaking out.
Well, yeah, he's just like, I don't ever commit any crimes. I don't even jaywalk. You've never jaywalked? And he's like, well, I mean, sometimes, like, everybody's done it, right? Like, he's like, adding it in now. And just, yeah, it's so well done. His acting is really good.
It's really funny.
Because he really does look like he is legitimately terrified of these cops.
Oh, and then they just show up. And you can tell he's so angry.
Yeah, I wish he had pulled off this elaborate, ridiculous prank. I think that could have been made a really funny episode.
Oh man,
that'd have been really dark. I appreciate the dark, and I would have thought it was funny. April would have still been on his side.
April would have been okay with it,
but nobody else would have been okay. And I'm like, Donna and Tom need to be taken down a peg. So
they would have. Tom would freak out over his clothes being wet or whatever. Though, the part that's really dangerous is like the whole jumping a car into the water and then having scuba team nearby to save him or whatever. It's like, That's pretty scary.
That's some crazy stuff.
I also just love his poor acting, like in show of when he comes in to try to get him to leave, and he's just like, "What are you doing?" It's so bad.
Yeah, and he runs and he's like, "Look, Madhavan Gardens is too far. You just gotta. It's whatever." And then Ben just comes walking in and he's like, guys, yeah, we need to like go to the parking lot for no real reason and like yeah, let's go. Leave your phones for no real good reason. We just
leave your phones.
Just like normal people will just leave their phones and like, his acting is so good.
It's really good. It's really funny. And then is it Andy that hits the button or whatever? And then it actually does the fake gunshots on him.
Oh yeah,
sprays him with blood.
Yeah, and then that ends it because April's like, "Oh, it's so cool." I'm like, you would think being splattered with fake blood is so cool. Because you're weird. And that's fine. But that's one of the last few moments you get of her being, like, weird and the creepiness. Her giving birth, though, and the makeup is great.
It's really funny.
He's like, "We gotta get that makeup." He's like, "No, I put this on because I'm giving birth."
Okay.
And he's moves on.
Like, alright, you're crazy. Their name, call him Jack for short after that name, that was just like, what?
I was confused as if they actually named their child that.
I think so.
I think there's a character limit on how many you can put on the government document, though. I know there is real limitations on things. That's why
that's stupid.
Tesla and his wife or whatever couldn't name their child what they wanted to because there's the restrictions on certain characters, like certain special characters. You can't put special characters in your name.
Grimes, isn't that?
Yeah,
his wife.
That's his wife's last name.
Yeah. I don't like that. Just name it whatever. Not that would be a good kid's name.
Whatever. There's no good kid's name in the end except Yestola. It's the only good children's name.
Of course, Yestola and Roktapaska.
Now, Roktapaska is for your sacrificial child, okay? Sacrificial male child. Yeah, that is an important distinction. There are no sacrificial female children.
Yeah.
There are only sacrificial male children.
True. I understand. But yeah, now their names are what, like Satan, Lucifer.
I don't
know. Like demon and all kinds of stuff. It's like, oh, yeah. Yep, good idea.
It was a weird name. Then they're having a second child, and you're like, oh, gosh.
As bad as these kids might turn out in the brain department, I do think Andy, at least, would be a very caring father. He might not be very responsible and do some stupid things, but I could see him being a very, like, a fun father kind of thing.
That's all he would be. He would be the fun father, and they would be bad. It would be so bad. It would
be terrifying.
None of their kids. I don't want to meet any of their kids. Let's be real. Anne and Chris' child is probably just obnoxiously positive.
Oh, God.
All the time. And it's not good. Nobody wants that. Their child would be the most normal child.
Probably.
Yeah, I like that Leslie and Anne are there like, look, this is our children getting together. And I'm like, oh, man, this would be your children, though. You guys would be sitting there, like, plotting out their lives together and like, who
Leslie
ends up with who and what their jobs were going to be.
Yeah, I could see, like, just one of these kids, like, being like, I don't really want to go to college. I think I'm just going to go and take up some small job or whatever. Leslie, though. Oh, I can't imagine that conversation.
You ruined your life plan that I wrote for you when you were 4.
4? That's late. She wrote that when they were born. She was giving birth and writing that.
No. She had to take some time, really think about it, get to see their personalities a little bit. And then she had decided for them.
Well, she makes the joke about whatever, if they can make like a third of the Supreme Court or whatever get with Ben.
Oh yeah, we can have, if we are all on the Supreme Court, we can have majority or something. Yeah,
it's like, yep, she's got high plans for these kids.
I mean, they're gonna be impressive.
Oh man,
I am excited for these kids. Anything else you want to add? Any other wonderful things you want to bring up? Any other great scenes you want to talk about?
I feel like if I had a list in front of me of a bunch of scenes, there'd be a lot to say. Like, it's one of my favorite shows of all time. So, basically every episode in the show past season 1 and 2 is good.
That's not true. But that's okay.
I feel like there's at least redeeming moments, even in bad episodes. And there's really not that many bad episodes. But I feel like there's always at least something to laugh at. There's no episode where I don't laugh a couple times. So
I don't know that I laughed in every episode.
no, but I did hear a fair bit.
I mean, I laughed more than most shows. I mean, it's a better sitcom than any other sitcom I have seen. But I've never seen a full sitcom through.
Yeah, I mean,
except
it's
this
a
one.
lot.
But I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of most other sitcoms on the market, and they're not very good. So Parks and Rec sold itself out.
I mean, I think it's a good show. I like it a lot. If you like comedy, I definitely recommend it. I think it's funny.
The last bit, I think, is only about the characters, and there are funny moments along the way. I think is the tonal shift of this show.
Yeah, I think because there's a bit of an overarching plot within the show, but it's really a lot of it is about their lives. So
each season kind of has its own little thing happening, except the last one where it was just kind of weird and not good and bad.
It didn't have as much direction with it.
And then they all just kind of end, and we're all together, and it's so cool. I appreciate that the ending has Andy's songs playing in the background. The only time they used background music that I can recall, like background music for the sake of background music, and they used his songs.
I fell into the pit. That's a funny song to me, though. It's just like, well, Andy's very good at just writing nonsense songs, though. We didn't talk about him becoming Johnny. What did you think about Johnny Karate as like a character, though?
I mean, it seemed pretty fitting.
Yeah, I always thought that was really fun.
That just made sense. He's a mental child and singing for children and doing his thing. And
yeah, I always thought, man, that's a perfect job for this guy. Like, that's really good. Him getting his TV show is, like, this is not a good educational show, really, in reality, it looks like. But I could see where it would be popular with young kids and just... It's over the topness. You got Dr. Smart Brain. Stuff like that.
Dr. Smart Brain was just like, okay. And he's like, I was going to talk to you about not using... Boring! Yeah.
But there's the one kid in the audience that's like got the lab coat on and he's clearly interested.
He's Oriental too. That's the better part. Like, all the stereotype of it.
It's pretty funny. The Crony episode, though, is really good.
Also, the only time the opening was different. I was so impressed because I hated the fact that the opening never really changed.
Oh, it really doesn't. It only changes with actors.
Yeah, and I just really wanted it, like, I don't need it to change all the time, but, like, every season, you put some new graphics in there. Yeah. You don't have to change the format. All you have to do is put some new graphics in there, and I will feel better about it. Nope.
Yeah, it really is just, though, wow, the same opening.
Same person hitting that tennis ball.
Oh, yeah.
Same people riding those bikes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Not the greatest thing. Now, do I really care? No. We did watch the opening every time, though.
We watched that opening every time because it's so short.
It is short. Skipping it would just be...
It's like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe, mail a letter to your neighbor. Specifically your neighbor to the left.
Neighbor to the left?
Yeah. You need a letter telling them how much you enjoyed this show. But... give recommendations. What else you want to hear us talk about and hate on or like if you're, some other person in the podcast.
For seasons 5 through 7, I would give this show a 9. As an overall product, like a 9.5.
5 through 7, I give this a 4 out of 10. Overall, as a 5 out of 10.
Have at us.